How's my
Hi,
sound? Oh,
what's that?
I said, how's my sound? Do you want me
It,
to get a...
no, it sounds good. Sounds
Okay,
good. Yeah,
sorry.
no worries. Hi, welcome to Powerhouse 2014 Summit. And we're finally here with our new friend Tanya Paluso. And, everybody who I've interviewed on the summit are people that I know really, really well. But I always like to be on a little bit of an edge. And there was something about Tanya that I really connected to. Definitely her vulnerability and her truth. And then when I checked out her website, I thought, oh my gosh, she uses like the same words I use. This is definitely someone who I don't, like I said, I don't know a lot about her, but I just connect to her essence and her message, and I think it's on point to bring her on, and it's on point to have the conversation, and so today, the three things that we're going to be talking about is really mastering self-love, and how to stay present, and she's going to talk to us about that, and how to learn to speak your truth from a heart space. So welcome, Tanya.
Thank you. I'm so excited. What a great little introduction.
Yeah, I never read bios. It's like I don't know what that is.
It's
Um,
good. It means you're present.
well, I wanted to really, I really connect to that self-acceptance piece that you talk about, and I want to hear it from your words, not just that you've written, but just have you here talk about, well, what does that place mean, and how does it play a role in the kind of work that you do?
Mm. Well, I'll start with, there was one of my friends posted on Facebook the other day, oh my God, ugh, I'm so sick. Everyone send me white light so that I can quickly be healed and be back to my energetic self. And everyone's, writing, oh, sending you love, and I imagine you in white light and all these things. And I think that's great. But for me, the thing that just kept coming to me as I was looking at this thread of people posting is, can you accept the illness for what it is? Can you actually be okay with being sick and to see it as actually a blessing? And this, I think, is so hard because we don't want to feel bad. We don't want to be sick. We don't want to experience the pain and the suffering and the darkness. And for years, this is how I operated, is that I did not want to feel any of the negative feelings that I might have been, or so-called negative feelings, right? The anger, the sadness, the grief, the frustration. I wasn't okay with those feelings, and I wanted to push them away. And I actually was recently sick. I was sick the entire week during New Year's, and what was really interesting about that is that I haven't been sick in over 3 years, and I've been really priding myself on the fact that I have been physically well for so long. And especially after being sick as a kid constantly. I was constantly ill. And so I really had to embrace the illness and see it for what it was. It was an amazing opportunity for me to do some really deep reflection. And so that's really what I'm talking about with self-acceptance. And because we have the flu bug going around in the winter season, it's something that hopefully you as the listener can really identify with, of trying to fix and change something because it's not what you want. And self-acceptance is really accepting exactly what is exactly going on for you, and to really acknowledge that it's just as valid. My sadness is just as valid as my happiness. My anger is just as valid as, my ecstatic excitement about life. It's these different ends of the spectrum, but actually they're one and the same. And that's really the path to allowing joy, not the pursuit of happiness. There's a huge distinction there. People are pursuing happiness as if it's something that they want, that's something that, you know, is this constant trying to get, versus allowing joy is actually finding the joy within the present moment. So I think, you know, we're going to talk a little bit about the present moment, and how to be present, but I'm a really big believer in the acceptance of all things. And it's even looking at the acceptance of what's going on out there in the world. You know, I wanted to save the world. I wanted to save the world from poverty and hunger and, you know, and war and all these things. But actually, can we be okay with all of that? Can you truly accept that? But we can't accept that unless we start to fully accept ourselves and all the different aspects of ourselves.
So do you see that, you know, those sort of, you know, shadow aspects of ourselves, to call it something else, do you see that they bring information?
Absolutely, they bring information. And that I think we can settle on that word, that we'll use the word shadow, the shadow side of ourselves. You know, it's that the skeletons in the closet, right? It's the thing that is kind of behind us that we don't really want to pay attention to, right? So we can definitely use that word shadow. And there's always a lesson in the shadow. There's always a lesson in feeling the grief or feeling the anger. There's something there for us to get. And you know, for myself, I'm just thinking of, you know, what I'm currently going through with this illness. What I saw is that it was actually coming up for a few different reasons. One was to really ground myself and to stop the external action that I was doing so that I can do the deep inner reflection that is actually really part of the cycle of winter. Winter, if you look at it, is all about hibernation, right? It's all about going within. So it was actually stopping me in my tracks, saying, no, Tanya, you're not going out, right? You're going to sit in your bed and you're going to reflect, you're going to journal, you're going to read, you're going to really hunker down and take care of yourself. It was also really coming up because it was allowing me to heal or integrate some of those past illnesses. And so I really got to look at why some of those illnesses came up from my past and why they were coming up again. So the shadow is such a beautiful teacher, you know, and I also like to compare it to your enemy, right? The people who you absolutely dislike, who trigger the heck out of you,
Yeah.
they are your greatest teachers, right? Those are the people who you want to embrace because guess what? They're just mirroring something within yourself. So it's the same thing, and so I love the shadow. I'm really learning to embrace it and not run away from it. And when I can face it, that's when I grow and expand into more of the truth of who I am.
You know, and I think, I mean, similar to you, I have been, you know, the past few years, I guess, really diving deep into that. Diving deep, you know, first it was like out of like curiosity and like, okay, if this truly is the whole of who I am, then I want to dive there. And then I kind of became like immersed by it where it like consumed me. And it didn't, I mean, for me, it didn't feel like it was like I was in a place of suffering. I was just so consumed by it, getting to know it and being really intimate with it. And as I sort of transition into a place of like now being open and exploring both sides or all sides of who I am, you know, as someone who's on a conscious path, and I'm sure a lot of people that are listening to this are also, you know, are starting to get that that's a piece that we need to bring in, and it feels accountable and responsible to kind of bring it into ourselves, like, you know, if we have enemies or teachers or whatever, to kind of take that information and reflect it internally. Where I guess I'd want you to talk a little bit more is how you see that when and I don't know if you travel a lot, but you know, I know when I travel to third world countries, there's this part of me that is awakened. And when you say, you know, fully accepting all of that I see, you know, you're definitely like striking a chord with me. And I want you to just talk a little bit more about that.
Sure. Yes. Actually, I've traveled to over 25 countries. I've been traveling extensively. I'm actually quite familiar with third world. I've spent 6 weeks in India. I lived in China for 4 months, taking a group of women to Peru, you know, in a couple weeks. So I'm very, very familiar with travel, and I agree. It was so China, 2000 was when I spent some time in China, and it absolutely awakened me. And to see some of what I saw, India was an awakening as well, because it'd been some time since I'd been to third world, and to really just be with, you know, what you see on the streets in terms of, you know, in India especially, there's a lot of people with out limbs, their arms or legs, and they're, you know, on the ground, and just the homelessness and the dirtiness and all these things, and you know, and the trash issue in India is a big thing for foreigners, who go there and see that, and they can't quite understand it. And the way I always look at trash, and how I came to understand it, is it was part of the culture in India to just throw things out the window, right? Or just throw them on the street, because they were biodegradable, right? It was like fresh fruits and vegetables, peels, they just, you know, that's what you do, and it goes into the earth, and it, you know, it's all part of the cycle. And so it's just that cultural habit that's really not aware of, like, oh, we're just going to throw this out, but wait, it doesn't actually go anywhere, it stays there, right? So it's like, well, it's not about India being dirty. What's the influence there? It's the Western influence,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, oh, well, you know, they need to clean up their streets, and this pointing the finger, right? But it's like, no, that's not what it's about at all. It's a Western influence. It's the consumerism, you know. And so then, well, we can blame that, but it's like, okay, well, where are we each personally responsible for that? I really look at the world out there as a mirror of the internal psyche. It's what's going on within ourselves. And so, you know, I was on this path of, we've got to change the world, we've got to save the world. You know, it's us women coming together, and we've got to, you know, go out there and conquer it. And the Dalai Lama said that we're the ones who are going to do it, you know, and rah rah. And then it's like, yeah, I don't know if that's the answer anymore, you know. And I've come to this place of looking at, I've got to just do my own internal work. Imagine if each and every one of us took personal responsibility to just do our internal work. And what is waking up really all about? You know, I've been in this question lately of what does it actually look like for me to wake up and stay awake, and for me to really see reality as it is, you know, to kind of look at the world as a dream state. That's one thing that I've been really looking at, is what is truth? What is actually truth? And for me, that has meant, if I'm looking for truth, if I really want to find the truth, I have to really get that there is no truth to really find, right? Like, if we actually look at, well, truth actually is the void. Truth is that space in between, right? Like, that is the truth. So what is the untruth? And really, it's been this process of starting to let go of all of my beliefs, and to start to look at letting go of everything that I thought was true. And so I've been asking myself the question, is that true? And so it's been able to, I've been able to lift the veil and to see things for as they truly are versus what I've been told they are. And so I think that's one of the biggest things that I can leave you with today, is how much you are buying into certain beliefs. And are you really asking the question, is that true? You know, they said that the world was flat. How many people were actually questioning that? And then they found out that it wasn't actually flat, right? So how much are we being told by society, being told by generations that something is the truth when in fact it's not? It might be false. And so for us to truly awaken is to ask that question, is it really true? And to really start to use our own minds, but also our own hearts and our own bodies and our own feelings to really start to see things for what they really are.
Yeah, I sort of connect myself back to, I mean, we're using India as an example, but, I grew up in South America, and I've traveled to Central America, and even if I pull myself out of that headspace of, putting labels on what I see, right? Which is what a lot of us can do, especially when we see new things. It's like, oh, that fits in this box, and that fits in that box, and that means that. I still feel this pull in my heart, and I think what I'm hearing you say is that pull in my heart is even though it's feeling like it's a pull towards somebody else, it's really a pull deeper into myself. Is that what you're saying?
I was not saying that, but I absolutely love that. I love that. That is one of the most beautiful things that I've heard recently, is like it's that pull deeper into myself. Absolutely. And it's to see the mirror, right, of like whenever we're thinking something's out there, we're blaming, we're projecting, it's an opportunity for us to really look at, right? They say, well, if you're pointing one finger out, three are coming back at me, right? So it's that's the awareness, is to look at, well, what is the mirror? What can I learn about myself? So I just love what you just said there. I'm really loving that, yeah.
And so and I think that when we see things that are uncomfortable, right? Because, poverty is one of the most uncomfortable things for all of us, I think, to witness. And that's why we've done such a beautiful job in the U.S. to hide it. I mean, you just don't see poverty in the U.S. unless you go, you have to be looking to see poverty, to see it. And in that discomfort, do you see that the discomfort is one of the ways in which people pull themselves out of the present moment? Or can you explain how you see being in the present moment and talk about that a little bit?
Well, actually, let's look at that statement that you just said about poverty.
Yeah.
What's the debt, right? They say, I just did look this up. It's like the average American is $15,000 to $20,000 in credit card debt. Right? So it's very, very interesting that we hide poverty, right? Like on the street, and then it's like this desire to help impoverished countries, and yet what's our deficit, right? We're in a national crisis in terms of what I think it's up to like $1 trillion or something, absolutely ridiculous. And then we have this consumer debt where people are way over their heads buying houses they can't own, that they can't afford. They're buying cars that they can't afford. All for what? The illusion of that we're not poor, that we're not in this poverty. But what's really going on? There's a huge poverty consciousness in our country. And it's coming from this place of, I am not enough. I'm not enough, so therefore I need more. Yeah. To cover up the fact that I think I am unworthy and I think that I am not enough. So this constant grabbing for more stuff to cover it up, and so then we live in this huge facade. We live in this huge illusion that we are not poor, and then we want to make ourselves feel better by helping people who are poor in different countries. It's really, really interesting when you look at it from that lens, and for us to really look at what is this thing that has me think that I am not enough. So forget present moment, right? It's like
Right.
I need to actually sit with and be with this belief that I am not enough. And honestly, that's what I've been doing. I have been sitting with that belief for the past maybe 6 months and really tearing it apart, absolutely ripping it out from the root of my existence so that I am really, really, truly getting that I am enough just as I am. There is absolutely nothing that I need to do. There's nothing that I need to prove. And that actually, that is the source of my wealth. My abundance is internal. And that actually, I am given in every single moment everything that I am required. That to me is the present moment. When I can truly surrender into and trust that all of my needs are being taken care of, that the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, completely has my back, even to the point of, if it is my turn to die, that is okay. Can I truly be okay with that? Can I be okay with the death of all of my identity and even this physical body? That is me getting that I am enough and that I am completely taken care of, that the universe has my back, and that I am given everything that I require in every given moment. That, oh my God, it's like I just feel this relief the more that I have been able to do the work that I've been doing to get to that place of truly finding that sense of wealth and that sense of abundance. Now, does that mean that I'm there? No, I'm still. It's still a work in progress. I cannot say that I have completely let go of my attachments and that I don't, have little, bursts of fear of, oh my God, how am I going to do X, Y, Z? Of course, I'm still having that, but I have made the most progress in the past 3 months, in particular, to coming to this place of truly trusting and coming to this place of acceptance. And that is really living in the present moment, because presence is the universe. Presence is God. Presence is that everything is right there. Like, I'm really like, oh my God, everything that I need is right there. It's right there in front of me. I don't need to go or do or it's like it's right here. Can I just open myself to receive it? That has just been mind-blowing for me. It's completely opened my mind, and it's completely opened my heart in a way of like, oh wow, that's what trust is all about. Trust is really me getting that everything that I need is literally a finger snap away. Can I open myself to receive it? Can I receive the present moment? Because it's all right there. I'm the one who's not present. Right? So can I become one with presence so that I can fully receive all that is being given to me in every given moment?
And it almost sounds like part of it is a discernment, right? Of the desire. Is the desire something that is coming from a place of out of integrity, with the full acceptance of presence, or is the desire, or is the desire that instantaneous relationship with the universe?
I look at desire as the separation, and the separation is the fear that it's this lack of trust.
So when you desire, you feel like when you're in that place of desiring, you feel like you're out of sync with presence.
Okay, so this gets into like a couple different things here. So there are things that I want, right? And I don't even know if it's coming from want anymore. It's like the more that I peel off all these layers, the more I get to my essence and my truth, and really like, well, who am I and what am I doing here, right? So then there's like, my desires now are more of how do I think about, like, for example, Peru, right? I'm bringing a group of women down to Peru, for example. And my desire was that I really wanted to lead a group of women to India. And that just wasn't what I was actually supposed to do, right? It was actually Peru. And so then as soon as I said, okay, Peru, and I said yes to it, like everything just started to show up, right? And I got connected with the right people and the right retreat center and all these things. And then it was like, oh yeah, I have this desire to go to Peru. Like I really want to go. But it's bigger than just me.
Yeah.
I think that's the piece here, is like desire to me is just so like ego. It's so about like me as the individual versus like me tapping into something bigger than myself. But I can get in alignment. Maybe this is what you're talking about with integrity. Like I could get in alignment with that larger calling and where I fit in the larger universe, right? So, so it's the where I sit in all of it, the connection. So this is where I said separation. The ego is thinking that it's separate from presence, from the universe, from all that, right? So when I am totally in alignment, I don't have necessarily the ego desire. I'm more in the flow, and I'm feeling that connection, not the separation from all of it. I'm in the flow of where I'm supposed to be going and what I'm supposed to be doing as this entity right here. That makes sense?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, it's,
Mm-hmm.
I think, yeah, you know, you're right. There's these sort of like, desire has this connotation, right, that it's like, it's something we want. And you know, and that's where the discernment piece can come in. It's like, is it me wanting it, or is it me in such alignment with the universe or with presence that that I'm feeding into the desire of the universe, and it's actually becoming my desire. Like you're becoming in tune with it just because you have this intention of being in alignment. I wanted to ask you, because this concept of truth telling and presence, I wanted to hear from you, how you know, from your perspective, how do you tell us about that?
Telling the truth.
Yes.
Wow. You know, this has been a journey for me around being able to speak up, because what I realized is that it was coming from a place of me breaking out of the chains and the confines and the belief that I need to suffer in silence. And that my childhood, I would keep my mouth shut because of this belief that I was going to get in trouble if I opened my mouth, right? I was going to get whatever. I burned at the stake, you know, like, and I think that this is a genuine concern for a lot of women, is that so much of us are carrying in our bodies, you know, the years of being burned at the stake. I think this is a genuine thing, you know, whether you believe in past lives or not, we inherit the generational imprinting within us. And so there is this deep-seated fear of me losing my life if I speak up, of me being ostracized from the community, of me being shut out, right, of me being sent away like I'm not going to belong. And so there's this fear of that I don't belong, right, and so I'm going to keep quiet and I'm going to not speak up, so that I can stay with that status quo, so I can make sure that I'm protected by the tribe. You know, I mean, this is how we operate, right? So for me, learning to speak the truth, is me speaking up for, there's a couple things going on. So one is, speaking the truth for me is about really starting to learn what am I feeling in the present moment? What's alive for me right now? And it might be that I'm feeling this discomfort, that I'm feeling this disconnect from you right now, right? So for me, learning how to speak the truth is to say, Asha, you know what? I'm feeling really disconnected from you right now. Can I, can we hold hands right now so that I can feel connected to you? Right? So how many times do we step over that? And then we're in our heads and we're not actually present with the person in front of us because we're feeling this disconnect, but we're ignoring that because we want to like be with this person right here, but we're not actually able to be with them. So it's been this practice of acknowledging what I'm experiencing in the present moment and being actually able to give voice to what I'm experiencing right now. I found that so many times I wouldn't even be aware. It would be this total shutdown that I couldn't even feel what I was feeling until I was out of the room. So therefore, it was this complete protection mechanism so that I didn't have to put myself in danger. Crazy. So the more that I practice this of actually dropping down from my head and into my body and feeling my body parts, and to then say, ooh, there's something going on in my stomach. Okay, what is that? Right? So I'm literally dropping down, I'm feeling into the different body parts, I'm noticing my breath, right? And then that I'm able to access whatever it is that I'm feeling. There might be a thought or an emotion that's associated with that physical feeling. And then I'm able to then voice it and to create connection. So I always look at truth telling for me has always been about how do I create more connection with presence, which means more connection with you. Because you are me, I am you. You are presence, I am presence, right? So how can I create more connection versus the disconnection? And so that's how I use truth telling. I don't use truth telling to say, well, I don't like you. Well, is that really the truth? No, that's actually not the truth. What's underneath that? So if I'm thinking, I don't like you, then I actually need to ask myself, what's that a mirror of? What's really going on underneath that? Are you reminding me of someone from my past, right? Are you reminding me of something that I don't like within myself? That's the truth. How can I then access the thing that's underneath it and actually be able to identify it and then actually speak that? So then I can say to you, Asha, I don't like you right now, but you know what? If I actually think about it, if I actually go a little bit deeper, it's that you're reminding me of my mother because she said XYZ and you just said it almost the exact same way.
Yeah.
So actually I'm going to own that as that's my stuff coming up right now. And thank you so much for being that reflection in that mirror. How are you going to feel? You're going to feel so much more connected to me, right? We've just created such a deeper connection because I was actually able to speak the truth. And the truth was not that I don't like you. It's that something else was going on within me that I was projecting onto you. And so what's the reflection? And for me to take ownership over that.
And also, I mean, I think a lot of what you're speaking about, too, is when you create conscious community and you can have those conversations, it builds a level of intimacy that brings us all into present moment or presence. But what happens when we are in exchange with people who don't have this commitment to truth-telling?
Well, I'm finding more and more that the more that I embrace my own truth-telling, the more that I'm attracting truth-tellers. So the universe is just weeding them out, right? Because the world is just a mirror and a reflection of me. So the more that I change, the more my external world will actually change. My perception will change. So this is why it's all about focusing on yourself.
Right.
The more that I do my internal work, the more that my external environment is going to shift and change. I am surprised now that most of my people can hang in a conversation with me. I attract people like you, right, who just randomly reach out to me out of nowhere. No coincidence. I see that as just an internal mirror of myself, right, of like, oh, okay, this is where I'm at. I'm attracting someone like Asha who totally gets this conversation, right? So, but with the people who don't, it's so fascinating too. Because I'm so rooted now in myself. And because I am so much more connected to that truth, if someone comes into contact with me who is not used to this, it's amazing to me how quickly they drop in. And it's almost like they called me in because that was their next step into truth. And so I have to just be confident in who I am and not worry about who's coming to me, and to trust the people who are coming to me for a reason. I might not know what the heck that is. And so I find it fascinating, actually, how a lot of people who are not used to vulnerability, who are not used to community, can in an instant start crying in front of me. And they're like, oh my God, I don't even know like what just happened there, right? It's like, well, you called this in, you know, and they're like, and then they shut down. So it's like the process of actually having them feel safe and that this is actually what you want and what you need, and then for them to really feel into the release and how good that feels to be vulnerable. And so it's, you know, it's just more trust in myself.
And what would you say to people who, you know, are not in that place? And you know, obviously no judgment on that. We're all on different paths, you know, different steps in the path. And but you know, there's people feeling trapped or feeling like no choice. Like I just been, you know, the feedback I've been getting this week is, you know, people are feeling so uplifted from these conversations that we're having about authenticity and community and what it means. And you know, maybe those are like words that are not that sexy to you know, to explore. Like, you know, who cares about authenticity and community when, you know, I just want to have like you know, money. You know, people or people are feeling like such deep suffering and in the situations that they find themselves in. What would you say to them?
So if you're watching this and that's what you're thinking right now is, well, I want money, or it's not really what you want, you know that. What you want, what every single human being on this planet wants, is to be loved, seen, and heard, and valued. That's it. So if you're thinking that you want just money, that's what's going to fix everything for you, you know that you're bullshitting yourself. And I'm just going to call that out.
Yeah. So you said
And
loved, seen, and heard. Did you
to
say
feel
something?
loved, seen, heard, and valued.
And valued.
Right?
Thank you.
We all want that. So even if you're someone who's like, oh, I can't do that. I can't speak the truth. Like, I can't be vulnerable. Here's what I have to say to you, is that deep in your soul, deep in your heart, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Why is that? Because this is the truth and the essence of who we are. So there's a part of you underneath the shell that totally resonates with everything that I'm saying. And there might be a little voice that's telling you, no, what she's saying is bullshit, but you know it's the truth. So that's the piece, is to start connecting with that piece that knows the truth. Every single one of us has it. The other thing you said is people who feel like they don't have a choice. So what I have to say to that is, I literally have been feeling like I've been slipping down the rabbit hole with absolutely no choice but to let go of all of my identity. And I have been in a place of literally, I have been at the bottom of the barrel. I have been experiencing some of the deepest pain and grief of my entire life in the past couple months. And I have been saying to myself, I literally feel like I don't have a choice. And you know what came to me is, you know what, Tanya? You already chose this. And I was like, oh my God, I did. It feels like I don't have a choice now, but sometime in the past, I already chose this. And that has had me realize, oh, I am exactly where I'm supposed to be. And in all the pain that I'm experiencing and all the grief, all the not wanting to get out of bed, the supposed depression, I trust that it is exactly perfect and it's exactly where I'm supposed to be. And sometimes in the tunnel, when it's all dark, we just have to trust that there is an exit, and we just haven't gotten to it yet. We haven't been able to see the light on the other side of the tunnel. And so for you, if you are experiencing any type of pain and suffering in your life, I have so much compassion for you. I know exactly where you're at because I'm experiencing it myself in my own way. And so just for you to just keep going and for you to trust that this is happening to you for a reason. If you look at, I remember this story actually, there was this guy who came to my, it was my high school, and he was in a wheelchair. And he had jumped, and he actually dove, and they were advised not to dive, and he ended up breaking his entire back, right, his vertebrae, and he was never able to walk again. He should have jumped, right? And so he can look at that as like, well, you know, this accident, how can I choose to live my life, right? I could be miserable and I could be suicidal, or I can choose to live and to see that this happened for a reason. And perhaps that reason was to go and then inspire high school students to live their lives and to be, you know, just more alive in their lives, right? To see our mortality, right? So you never know why you're going through an obstacle, and those obstacles, that adversity, is actually your greatest strength. And so for you to just trust that everything's happening for a reason, and it's really always your choice on your attitude of how you're going to view it.
Yeah, and you know, when you said that, when I was talking about people feeling, you know, I mean, we all feel in this moment, you know, or in moments where I don't have a choice about this, like this is like I'm stuck with this, or I'm, you know, doing this, but then the way you said, I don't have choice, it felt very different, because there was like a surrender piece.
Mm.
There was this like surrender to a part of you that has indeed made that choice. And it's almost like and it's almost like sometimes we're like trailing behind, you know, the bigger choice that we make. And so I just wanted to make that distinction about, you know, when we can become so heady about like, I don't have choice about this, or when we can be like, okay, you know, maybe I haven't consciously made, you know, or I haven't consciously made the choice to go through this specific thing, but there's a part of me that has chosen this. And you know, I love what you said about trusting that ride, trusting that that choice that was made at some level, at some bigger level that, you know, our minds just can't comprehend. I mean, we only use a fraction of our brain. How could we possibly comprehend, you know, the laws of the universe, really? And, you know, I'm super curious about two things. One is the trip to Peru. If you can tell us about that, and like what's the process that you take people through. And then also, I know you're having an event in San Diego, right? And if you can tell us about that, love to hear about that.
Yeah. So I have been putting on different retreats for women, and they're called Leading in Truth. And so it's really this assumption that we are all leaders. Each and every one of us is a leader, and we're leading our own lives. And how are we choosing to live? Are we choosing to live from truth? And so the process that I take women through on my retreats is really this deep dive into the soul. It's really that discovery of your truth, and to be in that knowing, and to be fully embodied. So it's not just about being in our heads and knowing something, but really knowing it in your heart. And so I'm really known for creating a very, very safe space so that people can go really deep, the deepest that some of the women who come to my retreats, it's like they didn't even know that this was possible. They're like, oh my God, like I didn't even know this part about myself. Like this is what it means to be a woman, right? And so I create this really safe space for women to really crack open their hearts and to really feel. And what that provides is a sense of intimacy. So I have both a combination of really doing your own individual work and having that time for you to really rejuvenate and to take care of yourself, but also a lot of group interaction so that you can deepen into intimacy with the other women, which then opens up all of your relationships. So it's
Okay.
really like leadership in terms of leading my own life, but also like how am I interacting in the world, right? Our world is all relationship. And so we really get to work on those two things. So Peru is very special because we're going for a full week. And we're going to be working with a shaman. And we're also going to go to Machu Picchu. And we get to really feel the energy of Peru. And I don't know if you know this, but if you're into energy, there's Kundalini energy on the planet. And that Kundalini energy used to be in Nepal. It is now shifted into Peru. So it's almost like this vortex of energy. It's very, very strong energy. There's these hot spots on the planet that they talk about, and Peru right now is one of them. So a lot of people are feeling that calling of, oh my God, I need to go to Machu Picchu. Oh my God. There's a reason why you might be feeling that pull energetically. You could think of it as like there's medicine that area of the planet has for you.
I love that.
So I am so excited. So this is on, it's just in a couple weeks, so January 24th to February 2nd. You can email me at info@tribal-truth.com. I've only got 2 more spots left, so it's something you need to have an individual conversation with me to make sure it's a fit. And if you mention Asha, then I'm going to give you $200 off.
Okay, and so tell me that email again, because I'll put it in the chat room so people see.
Yeah, so info@tribal-truth.com.
Okay, so it's there, and if they mention Asha, they get $200 off. Thank you for that. Beautiful. Yeah. And that's happening really soon, you said.
Really soon. So literally this is something of, your mind might be telling you, I really should be staying home and doing XYZ, but your heart is really feeling like you're feeling a calling. You just need to trust that sometimes. And sometimes getting away when you shouldn't be is the best time to get away, because it's actually, you might be hearing this for a reason right now. And you might not be able to understand it, but it's happening right now for a reason that will actually change the whole trajectory of your life. I really feel that strongly about this retreat, especially with the women who are coming.
Yeah, beautiful.
The other thing that I got going on, yeah.
No, yeah. I was going to ask you, what about the other thing you have going on? And that's what we have the link to right below the video.
Perfect. So her vision is an event that I do every year with my partner Christina Dunbar, who's in LA, and we've just become besties through this process of co-creating together. And this is a really special day around really completing 2013, and it's an initiation ceremony for 2014. We have women who are literally driving in from Vegas, from LA, from San Francisco, because this day is so meaningful for them. We just have this extraordinary, feel-good, powerful day that has been just so transformational for so many women. And so what we do is we take you through this letting go ritual that's really beautiful, so you can really feel free of those beliefs that you're holding on to that are really not serving you. And then we step into, at the second part of the day, really creating, being in that source of inspiration. And so this year we're using art, we're using creativity, so that you can really be playing and get messy and really allow that art to move you and to inspire you. So that's in San Diego, and we've got, do you have the coupon code?
I have the link just under this video, and then I think the coupon code is Asha, my name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So use Asha when you check out, and that will give you, I think, 30% off. And then also, if you have two girlfriends who you'd like to come with, use the coupon code Triple Goddess, and we'll be able to give you an even more ridiculous, like, totally, it's only $50 a person if you come
Oh.
as a group of 3, and that way, if you're wanting to drive in from LA or from Las Vegas or something, then you know, you've got your road trip buddies to come with you.
And I think those things are always more fun when you do them with girlfriends anyway, right? Like when you can, and it's so great to like be able to go through a ceremony and an initiation and then to bring people back with you who get what you went through.
Yeah.
You know, it's otherwise it's like, I mean, talk about this community thing, right? Like doing that really kind of builds community around your vision and what you want to sort of activate and intend for your year, and bringing it back with you. I because I've gone to things by myself. And then it's like I come back and I'm like, I just went through this whole thing and I have nobody who really gets it. But to do that with people that you already know, I think it transforms your relationship to one another and deepens it. So I like that you have that as an option too. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, Tanya, thank you so much for being on this Powerhouse Summit, and I'm so happy that I reached out to you, and you know, I love that you're like my new friend that I, you know, didn't know what you did, but I just felt this like resonance with what you do, and I'm glad that you could be here to, you know, inspire people as they're envisioning what their year is, and you know, your journey to Peru sounds like an incredible opportunity for people to be midwife through a transformational and activational process. So thank you so much.
Yeah, well, thank you, and thank you for what you're doing. So wonderful, and I'm really, I love when people reach out to me, and so I'm just really honored. I'm just really grateful that we got to connect in this way, and now we get to continue to go deeper, so it's awesome.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And thanks to everyone who's been listening. And remember that the videos will be up for a week. And, you know, if you are, for sure, if you're in California, take advantage of doing this. Sounds like a beautiful process. And, you know, if you're looking for a quest, and I talked about this earlier in the week, find an adventure. Put yourself in the place, make choices where you are taking risks and having an adventure. And I think that sense of curiosity and being adventurous, you know, Peru sounds like the perfect place to do that. So again, thank you for being here, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.